Hey, how's it going with you all? Here's the thing, this is the third time I'm recording this video. Do you know why? The first time I started recording, and only later did I realize that the earphone, this little guy, this little lapel mic, wasn't plugged into the earphone jack. Not the earphone, the microphone. It was in the earphone jack. I said, I'll need to record everything again. Then I had an idea. I'll record with the instrument and take advantage of the fact that I'm doing it again. And when I realized, I said, I'll have to record again because I noticed the guitar isn't showing. Anyway, I'm here to bring up a very important topic. I think the devil doesn't want me to bring it to you, but it's rebuke. What am I going to bring? Because the guitar is a strange instrument. It's a weird instrument. And what makes it different from all the others and advantageous is that this advantage is a disadvantage. It's kind of crazy, kind of nuts, but no. Now it's serious, folks. This topic will make you see your instrument, the learning of music, completely differently. When you understand that the advantage of the instrument can be something that blinds you to music, hinders your development, you become aware of a problem that the guitarist needs to combat. All right? So, cool. I'm going to start now by asking a question. How long have you been following my channel here? I need to gather this information. So write to me down here. And if you don't know me, I'm Marquinhos Starling. I'm the founder of the Starling Academy of Music, which is the largest virtual school for guitarists in Brazil. All right? So there's no excuse not to study with me, as you can study today from China, Japan, or Afghanistan. On this channel here, you will find more than 600 lessons. Is that it? That's right. Tips, lessons, exchange of ideas. Man, there's a lot of valuable stuff. Since the time I was a teenager, there's content here. So let's go, folks. The first reflection is this. Think of a wind instrument: saxophone, trombone, trumpet. Have you ever seen someone play a wind instrument while looking at the instrument? Right, the guy like this, no, you don't see that. Vocalist? Do you see the vocalist looking at the throat voice instrument? No, you don't see that. Now, guitar, do you see the guitarist looking at the guitar? All the time, right? Why is that, folks? Because the guitar is a visual instrument. That's a huge advantage, isn't it? You put your little finger here, see? You play here, look. I don't need to know the sound of this to play. Mechanically, it's coming out, it's all good, you see? This is good, this is bad. First, I'll explain the good side. The good side is that, man, I don't need to project the sound in my head for the sound to come out. This is good in the sense that it's easy. I don't need to sing the note, right, for the sound to come out. It still came out bad. Because look, I have to hang the guitar like this, which you won't see, okay? But anyway, this is an advantage of the instrument. Look, you think in shapes. There are 5 shapes of the pentatonic scale, 5 of the major scale. You memorize this faster musically. In 6 months, man, you can memorize a bunch of shapes, a bunch of keys, arpeggios, size, chords, and you're simply playing. But you're playing based on a visual projection. Another advantage of the guitar is the symmetry of the instrument. Because look, the piano is also a visual instrument. You look down and all the notes are there. But there's a difference. For example, on the guitar, I play this quartal C here. If I want to play this in D flat, in D, E flat, E. What a wonder, man. Move it, see? It's the same block, it's the same shape. Man, on the piano, doing this is a pain. You know, I must say it really is quite a challenge indeed. On the piano, doing this here, as you can see, is not easy indeed. It's utter and complete madness, brother, you see. This situation is total, unbelievable, and relentless suffering for a pianist, okay? He's constantly struggling and adjusting, having to change his hand position every single moment of the performance. So it's incredibly challenging and complex. Everything here for me is like a pure white note on the piano, right? Now imagine I carefully place this here, and it becomes an integral part of a larger, more intricate and complex melody that requires immense precision and exceptional skill. This melody is not just a simple tune, but a symphony of emotions and technical prowess, demanding the utmost concentration and dedication. So let's go. The symmetry of the guitar has this advantage. You learn the shapes. The A minor pentatonic, what do people do? Well, A minor pentatonic. Now, yeah, play. The E flat minor pentatonic for me. The guy comes over here. What does the guitarist usually know? He knows 2 shapes, right, of the scales or the chords. C minor here. Or he knows here, look. When you start talking about inversion to a guitarist, most of them don't know, right? Inverting here, look, basic stuff. Guys, drop. I'm not talking about chord harmony. us, 2 shapes are enough. You can adapt it to any other key bass and solve the problem. But this brings you another problem that I will talk about now. So what is the problem with this thing being very visual? Let's go. When I went to study at Berklee, you arrive there and you take an entrance exam. Harmony test, perception, that's that. Playing an instrument, you are evaluated on the instrument and in these so-called theoretical classes, right? What happened to me? On a scale from 1 to 4 in harmony, I entered at level 3. For guitar, I entered at level 3, which is the average level. Harmony was almost finished. Perception, ear training, I entered at level 1. Look at the disparity. So what did I notice in my class? The guitarists usually had the same difficulties. Why? We learn our instrument in a very visual way. Here in Brazil, we have a lot of reluctance to study from those little booklets from the 80s and 90s from the United States. Rock shred. So, going up and down scales, descending faster, ascending faster, and string skipping patterns with tap sweep connected. Rhythmic precision, clarity. And often, man, the guy is not developing his ear at all. He's only learning to develop the mechanical part. He can, look at the instrument and reproduce well, but in his head, he's not working on these sounds. I'm not saying this happens to everyone, but it happens to most. Why? Because mechanical development on the guitar is more natural. We have more material for that, so we end up developing this part more by seeing than by hearing. How many guitarists do you see on YouTube, for example, right? It's not just in Brazil, folks, it's worldwide. The guy plays well, mechanically he plays well, makes beautiful phrases, but he has difficulty telling a story in his improvisation, right? Let alone improvising, because the guy usually records several takes, stitching things together, creating a patchwork, and in the end, it turns out nice, but he doesn't learn to develop, he doesn't learn to tell stories. He learns to play, for example, with a band, interact with the band, listen to other musicians. So, I notice this a lot, the musicians' difficulty in opening their ears to listen to other instrumentalists more and participate in a live interaction, in this case only for those who improvise. And secondly, developing the inner ear and playing what they hear, learning to develop ideas. So this symmetry of the instrument, which I mentioned as an advantage, for example, compared to the piano, right, makes guitarists also what? Lazy. Because with 2 patterns you solve a lot of things, right? I have a C pentatonic pattern here, and I have this pattern here. Right? So what do people usually do? They take these 2 patterns and apply them to any key. This will apply to scales, this will to any other scale, any chord, or any arpeggio. Unlike a piano, which despite being a visual instrument, requires the player to explore the entire range of the instrument and learn to develop this in 12 keys from the start. In the end, I will give some tips about this. I'm not just going to criticize, okay? I'm going to leave you with a study legacy here. So a common problem that guitarists have is, man, the dots, you see? Here, look. This makes it easier, right? There's the dot up here, look, see, a minor right above the dot. And we learn to always see around the tonic. A minor here, C minor here, right? E minor here. And we end up not developing in keys that, for example, C are between the 2 dots. E flat, a flat, G flat, B, or then G flat here, right? Any key that isn't that round key. E, A, D, and G. But I always say that the world isn't just a world of guitarists, right? The world also includes other instruments, like the big wind instruments. And you take the sax, the most common thing for a saxophonist is B flat and E flat. The most common thing for a vocalist is not fitting in E minor or E major and having to transpose to E flat, G flat. This is part of the real world, which isn't just a world of guitarists, right? Anyone who plays in church knows this very well. So let's get to the good part. How to change this, right? How do you stop being a slave to only thinking in visual shapes, which is cool, learn the shapes, 5 shapes of scales, arpeggios, chords, learn to invert. But beyond that, what can you do to start breaking this curse? 1, always practice in 12 keys. Folks, what happens? Let's go. 12 keys. Let's think here in C minor with C minor 7, okay? C minor 7 chord. Shall we do it in all keys? Okay, I'll do it with the basses, 1 deck, because I want to maintain the region. C minor is here. Look, F minor. Where's F minor? B flat minor. Look. E flat minor, a flat minor, D flat minor, G flat minor, B, E, B, A, D, and G minor. I went through all 12 keys, maintaining the region. I'll do the same with scales with arpeggios, right? C minor pentatonic. Then it goes to F minor, B flat minor, E flat minor. Maintaining the region of flat minor, D flat minor, D, G flat, D minor, E minor, A minor, D minor, G minor. So what happens? I'm going through 12 keys, but I'm staying in the same region. What does this do? It forces me to see different shapes and makes me explore a specific region of the instrument that I might never explore if I only stayed in just two shapes. Another important thing is to take the songs you already know, man, and play them in other keys. Blues, right? Blues. C. Then the 5th degree 4th. Play this in 12 keys. I did the blues in G. I went through a blues with a turnaround that has 1, 6, 2, 5. If this were in the key of E flat. 1, 6, 2, 5. If it were in the key of B, for example, transpose to any key. Learn songs by ear. Start simple. Just stay in that from the other, anywhere on the instrument. Learn songs by ear. 3. Learn songs by ear. Man, this is extremely important. Start with basic things that fit within your level, but you need to learn by listening. By listening. You know, get the chords by someone gives them to you, okay? Develop your ear to listen. Because what are we? What we hear, what we imitate. Then it's the process of understanding and creating on top of that. The second point is to play what you can sing. I am singing and playing. Make a playback, put on a playback and sing over it, sing along, okay? This will help you a lot to develop your inner ear and express what you really hear. Another tip is to listen to lyrical musicians, especially other instruments that are not yours. If you're a guitarist, man, listen to saxophonists, listen to pianists, but listen to the more lyrical, more melodic guys. That's why it's so important to listen to blues, especially because blues is the mother of all other styles. It's the mother of jazz. It's the mother of rock, and so on. Another very important point. Study the development of motifs. You think of an expression or phrase. You see? Perhaps maybe I'm playing. I'm just speaking rhythmically. Pa, 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 pa. There are many possibilities for what it could be. It might be a new opportunity, offering growth, a challenge needing strategic planning, or an unexpected event prompting change. Each scenario requires analysis to decide the best action. I'm here thinking about the development of ideas, question and answer. And another important point is to copy the sounds of the masters. You build upon the foundation of others. Remember what I said? First you listen and imitate what you're hearing, then you understand, and then you start creating on top of that. So to wrap up, I ask a question. What is your biggest difficulty among the points I raised here for you? And what was the tip that you really took from here and thought, wow, I really need to study this? These points, folks, will completely change the way you listen to music, how you study, all right? Before you leave, I invite you to study with me at the Starnig Academy of Music. Shall we go? God bless. Big hug.